Hello, BookTube. For the third book haul of July, I have an all Barnes & Noble haul. This haul is composed of parts of two separate orders. The first part is from Barnes & Noble's recent response to Amazon's Prime Days. During Prime Days in late June, Barnes & Noble had a 25% off pre-orders sale. So I ordered a few pre-orders from Barnes & Noble, and the first of those pre-orders was the Errant package that I had been expecting last week. It has since arrived. And then the second part of this haul is part of not quite a sale that Barnes & Noble does during holidays. In this case, the 4th of July. Barnes & Noble had double stamps for rewards members. And I am a reward member. I'm on the unpaid part of it, so I just get the stamps for every $10 I spend, which once that hits $100, you get a $5 credit. And I've built up about a $25 credit so far. So let's get on with the books. So the Errant package was Small Comfort by Genberg, translated from the Swedish by Josefsson. So this book started off in California, as a lot of Barnes & Noble books do. And instead of going through UPS's Mail Innovations, it went straight through the postal system. So it spent a few days in California and then moved over to Kansas, stayed in Kansas over the 4th of July holiday, then for some reason went to Kansas City, Missouri, before finally reaching its way to Texas and eventually to me. So let's read the back of the book. From an interview with a child star turned thief to the mysterious death of an employee at a drug manufacturer to the couple feigning marital bliss to keep their inheritance, Small Comfort carefully unravels the value we place on both money and people. What does it really mean to be in debt to someone? How does our financial worth permeate the ways we think and feel? And what do we lose when we supposedly win? Small Comfort skewers its characters and slyly implicates the reader along the way. So, Small Comforts was longlisted for this year's International Booker Prize. I don't think many people who follow the Booker Prize read it. It was, I think, the last published amongst the 13. And here in the U.S., it came out the last week of June, so even further back than in the UK release. So when the Booker jury discussed this book, they mentioned it was a short story collection. And I was thinking, cool, that would put it in good stead for both Women in Translation Month and also Short Story Summer, or Summer of Short Story or something. Two BookTube events that I will be participating in August. But as I looked at the book, as I read the back of it, I don't think this is actually a short story collection. It might be a novel in stories, but for a short story collection proper, I think there actually needs to be a table of contents, which isn't present. So I actually think this is a novel, or more of a novel than a short story collection. But I will read it in August and I will report back. So the other parts of this particular order will come mostly in August and early September, if I remember. And I will talk more about them as they come in. So on to the second order that composed this book haul. So one of the 4 books came separately through UPS, which I made a note to actually wait for the UPS driver when he arrived, because the previous day we had a package that went to the next door neighbor. We've had, and this complex in general does have some trouble with a package delivery. So that book was The Natashas by Yelena Moskovich. Beatrice, a solitary young jazz singer from a genteel Parisian suburb, meets a mysterious woman named Polina, who visits her at night and whispers in her ear there are people who leave their bodies, and their bodies go on living without them. These people are named Natasha. Cesar, a lonely Mexican actor, receives the opportunity of a lifetime, a role as a serial killer on a French TV series. But as he prepares for the audition, he finds himself falling in love with the psychopath he is to play. Step by step, Beatrice and Cesar are drawn into a labyrinth of visions and warnings, haunted by a group of young women who all share the same name, Natasha. A startlingly original novel that recalls the unsettling visual worlds of Cindy Sherman and David Lynch, and the writing of Angela Carter and Haruki Murakami. The Natashas establish Yelena Moskovich as one of the most exciting young writers of her generation. So a few weeks ago, this novel was mentioned by Mark Nash, and it got me really interested in wanting to check out Moskovich's work, so I now have 2 novels by her. This year's Faulkner in August novel is Intruder in the Dust. At once an engrossing murder mystery and an unflinching portrait of racial injustice, Intruder in the Dust is the story of Lucas Beecham, a black man wrongly arrested for the murder of a white man, Vincent Gowrie. Confronting the threat of lynching, Lucas sets out to prove his innocence, aided by a white lawyer, Gavin Stevens, and his young nephew, Chick Mallison. So really looking forward to trying this novel out, and hoping I can finally break through with William Faulkner. I rather liked his work when I was younger, but I've had some difficulty with it since I've been on BookTube. Next is another book from this year's International Booker Prize, although this one has been shortlisted. She Who Remains by Rene Karabash, translated from the Bulgarian by Izidora Angel. Or is it Izidora? Izidora. She Who Remains, Rene Karabash's probing exploration of what it means to be a woman in a world defined by violence of ancient patriarchal... Let's start over. She Who Remains, Rene Karabash's probing exploration of what it means to be a woman in a world defined by the violence of ancient patriarchal traditions, traces gender evolution with innovative grace. It secrets readers into a rural Albanian village where the Khanim of Lege Dukajini, a collection of archaic laws, looms over the lives of the residents with the same haunting presence as the surrounding mountains. Bekia, painfully aware of what she cannot have, why she cannot have what she most wants, chooses to become a sworn virgin, setting off a bloody and heartbreaking chain of events that shatters a family and destroys a cherished relationship, but also reveals how trauma can lead to vital, if uncomfortable, truths. And finally, the last book of this book haul, The Life of Pi by Yann Martel. After the sinking of a cargo ship, a solitary lifeboat remains bobbing on the wild blue Pacific. The only survivors from the wreck are a 16-year-old boy named Pi, a hyena, a wounded zebra, an orangutan, and a 450-pound Royal Bengal tiger. The scene is set for one of today's most extraordinary and beloved works of fiction. So I have been meaning to get to something by Yann Martel for quite some time. So finally getting around to the life of Pi. If there was a brief interruption where I was paused, my apologies. I don't know what happened. But then again, it could have just been on my end, and I just kept on going. Anyway, so let's do a quick Steve pyramid with the works in alphabetical order. So, Yelena Moskovich comes first with the Natashas. And then we have Life of Pi by Yann Martel. She Who Remains by Rene Karabash, translated from the Bulgarian by Izidora Angel. Intruder in the Dust by William Faulkner. And Small Comfort by Genberg, translated from the Swedish by Josefsson. So very happy with this little book haul. And I'm not entirely sure if there will be any more book hauls in July. If there are, I will of course report them to you when they come in. So until I see you next time, BookTube, thank you and have a great afternoon.